Okay, so episode 2 of this Domination mode debrief, and I'm really going to have to learn to use some editing software to edit out this initial rewind. So at the end of episode 1 I had managed to successfully overcome Douglas there in pink. Meanwhile, over in the west, there is mission 2 going on, which is defeat widlslayer. Early on I had more or less decided to just send out all of my drillers in the area to El Farolito and Arcanus in the hope that they could establish some sort of beachhead there just with a watching brief. Well, Pondy over here in the grey has beaten me to El Farolito, although my 30 drillers would have been able to knock him off and he wouldn't have been able to reinforce that. He, however, suggested that he'd quite like to keep that, and if I could gift him 30, he would then send them on. Well, it seemed like a reasonable offer, and that he couldn't do much damage with them, even if he decided to keep them. So it turns out that he has sent them exactly where I wanted to, and I've rolled on from Arcanus to try and take out Cebu. So this is where the engineer that I'd hired over on the other side of the map is doing very good work, because with the aid of that well-timed gift from Pondy, I'm able to attrit a very long stream of subs from widlslayer without taking too much damage. This is a similar manoeuvre that I used well in an earlier game against Ace, using an engineer just to hold a particular strong point, and then the question is how we're going to break out. I was a little bit concerned about this Admiral here of Wildslayers, because that potentially gives his forces a lot of mobility. Although I can hold these outposts, I'm still moving too slowly and I can't break out. I've promised Pondy that I want to help him take Sorin in exchange for his cooperation in letting me get this extra factory here at Cebu. This, however, is not going to go well. When his attack gets queued up, he manages to reinforce it and just cannot. Just cannot take that, and all of my subsequent forces that I'm throwing at it are insufficient to debulk it either. So Sorin remains a thorn in the side. Fortunately, at this point, Giz for Gamer in yellow has decided to take matters into his own hands and deals with these two forces quite decisively. Around the same time, all the forces that have just rolled through pink are arriving at high speed. So this back arena was the one that I'd fought over earlier, and are now going to finish rolling through the rest of Widlslayer. So Widlslayer was unable to cope with having 3 people, and now he is effectively chewed up. I've managed to hold the 2 bases that I wanted to here, and I'm gaining in his other side as well, at which point he resigns. Note, of course, that none of this would be possible without friendly neutral neighbours. So on one hand we have Kaitsa in the light blue and Espadero in the, let's call it teal, and I've been chatting with both of them. Kaitsa is nominally allied with Ace and I'm nominally allied with Espadero, and they're happily fighting each other, and I'm happily sending them both intel of what the other one is doing in a sort of a helpful but disinterested way, making it known that I'm not interested in interfering, but keeping them friendly and making sure that I'm not first on their list of people to attack. Likewise, Aviator in the brown, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing his name, but he'll have to tell me how to pronounce it later, has also been definitely friendly to the extent that I'm not worried about him encroaching and he hasn't been too worried about me. This sub that's taking his generator at Nemo, I asked him, he wasn't using it, he was nowhere near his driller cap, and I was, plus I wanted some intel as to what Giz for Gamer was doing, because he's going to be next. But just in terms of this domination game, in theory, two people work together, they're stronger than any third person, they can thereby expand and gradually take over the map. Well, the issue with that is that in order to gang up on said third person, you need to maintain on cordial terms with all of your other neighbours, and then that means that once you've finished with the people that you're obviously in conflict with, then what are you going to do? If the rest of the map is talking to each other, you're going to end up with a, say, 6-on-2 situation, and it isn't going to look pretty. This will come up in a couple of episodes next, but my next target is going to be Giz for Gamer, mainly because I have a lot of ships. They're in his facility. They're in his vicinity, and I haven't got any explicit alliances with him. So better him than the other guys. So over. That's the end of episode 2.